another meal prep today, and somebody on here actually was asking me about like my grocery shopping trips, so I thought that I would start this one a little earlier in the process and take you to the supermarket with me as well. So the meal we're making today is a roasted butternut squash soup. So I have the recipe up here on my phone, and what I did when preparing for this was I just went through and added to my shopping list the items that I don't have already. So my shopping trips usually aren't that big and exciting because most of the like staple items I usually already have on hand. So I'm just gonna go through the ingredients now. Okay, so we need 3 pounds of butternut squash, which I will be picking up today at the store. That's on my list. An onion, I already have. A red bell pepper, I will be picking up. You end up needing like 8 pieces of bacon. I stock up on bacon at Costco, so we've got that. And chicken stock I need to pick up. You need garlic, which I have, olive oil, which I have, salt and pepper I have, and chives. Oh, I didn't write, oh I did put chives on my list. So we need chives for the topping and some crumbled goat cheese for the topping, which actually I was going to just use feta since I have a ton of that right now, so I'm not going to pick up any new cheese. And I'm actually prepping 2 meals today. I usually make 2 or even 3 different things for the week, but the other thing I'm making I have already demoed here once, so I'll just put a link to that whichever corner. I'll put a link to that video that I already made. Well, I apologize. I brought the camera with me to the store, but this is why I never film in the supermarket, because it's a Sunday afternoon. It was busy, it was crowded. It would have been weird for me to stop in the middle of the aisle and start talking to a camera, and I just got one little bag of stuff, so I was in and out real quick. So on my way home now, and we'll start cooking. Okay, so for the soup, there's kind of 3 parts to making it, and if you see other stuff going on in the background, it's because I'm making one other meal at the same time, and I'm making chicken soup for my husband who has a man cold right now. But the 3 parts to the butternut squash soup is like the roasting of the vegetables, which I'm excited about because I know that the roasting will give it all a really good flavor, and then the actual like making of the soup with the broth in a pot, and then the blending of it to form the creamy soup rather than just chunks of vegetables. So to start, I'm going to do the baking part. So that will be the cubed squash, the onion, the pepper, and 4 slices of chopped up bacon, I assume raw bacon, in a single layer on a pan, and we're baking that at 400 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes, stirring it about halfway through. Pro tip, I did get the pre-cubed butternut squash because I hate cutting up whole squash, but some of the pieces are really large compared to the others, so I'm just cutting up some of these really big ones so that they're all just a little more evenly sized, and I'll cook kind of at the same time. So there we go into the 400 degree oven, and I'm gonna set a timer for 25 minutes. Guys, I almost forgot the 4 chopped slices of bacon, so just added those in, and now I'll put it back in the oven for 25 minutes. So for this next part, we are cooking 4 slices of bacon in the pot that we're gonna use for the soup, and then sitting them out to drain because these will be for the topping. But I also needed bacon for the other thing that I'm cooking today, so this is more like 9 slices here in the pot. Okay, it's time for the halftime stir. It is smelling pretty good. I'm still not 100% sure about this raw bacon in here though. Usually, even for stuff like this where you're supposed to cook the bacon in the oven with everything else, I usually crisp it up a little bit first. So we'll see how this goes. So after 25 minutes, the squash wasn't really tender yet and the bacon was still really raw. I put it back in for another 10 and it still isn't feeling done. So I'm just gonna keep cooking this for like 10 minutes at a time until these big pieces of squash are feeling more tender, and hopefully also the bacon will be a little bit more cooked. So while I'm waiting 1,000 years for that stuff in the oven to finish, I thought that I would prep the toppings. So this is the rest of the bacon that we fried up. These are chives that I chopped up, and since I'm not eating this right now, I'm going to pack it up for meal prep, the soup. I'm just packing these up as well, so when we pack it for our lunches each day, we can take a little bit of the bacon and a little bit of the chives with us as well. Okay, so I don't even know how long this has been, maybe more like 45 minutes. The squash is finally feeling tender. The bacon is still a little raw looking, but what I'm gonna do is put this in the pot, and hopefully the bacon will cook up just a little bit more if it's supposed to, and then we add in 2.5 cups of chicken broth, and I will puree it all with the immersion blender to make a nice creamy soup. So this is actually looking pretty good. I might just do like one more pass through it with the immersion blender just to make it a little bit creamier. It smells amazing. It smells like so rich and meaty. I'm sure that's from the bacon. Also possibly because I used chicken bone broth instead of just regular chicken broth primarily, because I had it left over from last week, but it smells really rich. So here it is. I just tried a bite. It's a little different than most butternut squash soup I've had. Usually butternut squash soup I feel like is a little more on the sweet side just naturally from the squash. This is really savory because again of the chicken broth and the bacon that's in it, but it's really good. This is going to be a great winter meal prep packed lunch meal. So there we go. It's actually kind of thick. I might at some point during the week thin it out with a little bit more chicken broth. But it's really good. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. If you want to see the other thing that I've been cooking while I was making this soup, I do have a video of that. Check in the description, and I'll see you next time.